In the links folder, the first place I want you guys to go to is the second line here, this census.gov/geo maps data tiger line. So I'm just going to paste it in there like that. This is where I went to download the base shapefile that we're going to join all our tables to. When you're looking at government data, generally the best and most accurate data set you want to join information to is the county level data set. You have the state level data set, which is the state, and you have the national data set, but the one right after state is the county level. And then there's one level slightly smaller than that called the block group. The block group is pretty good if you need to go zoom into a smaller level, but it's actually not the most accurate. I think the county level is actually, and just in terms of its data, has not as large of a margin of error as the block level data set. But basically in here, all I went to is this little download option down here. And I just went to the FTP site, I believe. And I just went to the county line here, and then just download the TL 2016 US County zip. And if you check the box folder, I already downloaded this into that area, but this basically here is what I downloaded. And we're gonna use this for all the tutorials today. So if you want to download it, you can, or you can just go into the box folder and you can just unzip it from there. But if you successfully download and unzip it, then bring it into ArcMap, what you're going to see is, where did I save it? So when you add it, it's basically all it is a county data set. You can see right here. Now, what we want to do is we want to make this coordinate system something that makes sense for the United States. This is a bit too distorted, so I'm just going to double click in here. And what I already set up previously was this one, the WGS 1984 World Mercator. And you can just find it by, I guess, searching for World Mercator in here. And you should be able to find it right there. So use that one, click OK. And this is a pretty nice even coordinate system for the United States. You can see like it's parallel to Canada. But all this is basically if I open the attribute table, just a county line data set, and it doesn't give much about it except for the county name. Really important here, a geo ID. This is going to be the line that we're going to join information to when we start downloading census data, but also other things like the name and the areas and that kind of stuff. So that's the basic file that we're going to use for this tutorial. And then what we're going to do is we're going to start downloading information from census.gov, and we're going to start visualizing this onto the map here. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my links folder. I'm going to go to the fact finder, which is the first line in the links thing here, and then paste that in there. And this is where I go to get some basic census information into Excel spreadsheets or CSV data sets, which is just basically an Excel spreadsheet, more or less. And this is where you can find information. And this is not just census information, but this is also American Community Survey information. So census is, as most of you guys I'm sure know, is the 10-year survey that's held to basically count the population, get gender statistics, get racial statistics, et cetera, et cetera. But the American Community Survey is another survey that's held, I believe, yearly, or I think it's yearly. And it's a little bit less precise, but it's a bit more up to date. So 10 years for a census is very broad. It kind of like loses its precision almost 1 year later. But the American Community Survey is a little bit better in terms of like finding information that's more relevant to our decade, so to speak. So the way you find information in this website is you go to the advanced search button up here in this corner here. And so once you're here, what you want to do first is you want to set your geography. So on the side here, you can set some parameters that will dictate what kind of data you're going to download. So the first thing you want to select is actually this geography option here. It's going to bring up this list of options. And from here, let's say, I'm just going to give an example verbally. But let's say you wanted to get specific information for just like a city like Chicago or St. Louis or whatever. You can use this to get information just for that city or just for that state if you pick a small enough subdivision here. So you can see you have state, county, county subdivision, the census tract, and then, like I said, the block group, which is actually the smallest level that you can visualize. For today's tutorial, we're going to use this county, and the county is a good size for a national United States level data set. And when you select county, then you can do is you can select a state if you wanted to only get data for a specific state. But since we're going to do a map that represents the entire United States here, we want to just leave this blank, just leave it as its default. And you see you can select all counties within the United States. You can also do all counties in the United States and Puerto Rico. But I'm just going to do the first line here. So just click add to your selections, like that. And then all you need to do is just close out of this little box just by clicking on this close here. But you see it remembered your parameters on the side here because it says search using county, all counties within the United States. And there we go. This is basically some of the lines of data that you can download and visualize on the map. And you see here the data says the 2015 ACS 1-year estimate. So this is 2015 data. It's going to be accurate, you know, within that year or so. So you can use this as a way to find some information. And you know, the funny thing is, like, you can find almost anything you want if you just, like, you know, look through it. For instance, let's say employment status. I just went to the second page of this list here, and there's this thing called employment status. All right, so employment status. So we click on that guy there. You can see this is, you know, this right here is basically a summary of some of the information that you're going to get for this data set. So you can see here, it's this line here, this top column here is the county, and this is what you're going to get in terms of information for each county. You're going to get an estimate for, let's say, this county here in terms of the number of people in the employment, the number of people who are employed and unemployed. So there's an employment population ratio, and then there's an unemployment rate right here. So you're going to get this for every single county in the United States. And you see there's a list of 1 through 18 of 6,000 something pages. Basically, it's a huge data set. Okay. So the way you download it is simply click on download here. And you want to work within this first box up here, the CSV format. This box down here is useless. Don't worry about that. So just have this first box, first line check, data annotations in a single file, and then click OK. And you can see it's going to start downloading it. And then when it's completed, you just click on download, and you're going to get a data set right here that's going to download to your downloads folder. So once in your downloads folder, all you do is unzip it. So just extract it. And let's see, ASC 15 1-year, this one right here. And these names are like really like hard to remember, so I'm just going to call this ACS 15 employment, just so I remember what it's about. And then I'm going to cut it and move it to my GIS folder, which is in my Dropbox here, and I created the census folder right here. I'll create a new folder called ACS for American Community Survey, then paste that in there, ACS employment. And then there is just a CSV file, which is great. And then open the one that says something, something, something with an meaning annotation. So open that one. Oh, did I hear some cursing? So, man, that's a lot of data. That's good. Data's good. And we can use GIS and our powers of Microsoft Excel to clean it up and visualize this information. So whenever you have data in this Excel format, it's always going to be extremely messy, to say the least. It's going to be like hard to decipher. So before you bring this into GIS, you always want to clean it up. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to format so I can see everything. So auto fit column width so that I can actually see all the lines of data. You can see that this first row at the top is useless for our purposes. It's just a code that they use to organize their data set, but I don't remember this information. I'm just going to use this column below that, so I'm just going to delete that. So right click on that row and delete it, so we only have this as our top row. And then you see here you got estimates in terms of population, The margin of error. So basically the margin of error is like basically this is your population. This is basically how much it could potentially be off this number here. For our purposes, we'll just kind of take this number here and use it as is. In a perfect world, you take into consideration the margin of error, but I don't have time for that, and neither do you guys. So just kind of work with what you get and kind of use the margin errors as your kind of it's just there. But in any case, one thing we need to do first is we need to clean up these titles here. You kind of see that there's like a total, semicolon, colon, all these numbers. It's just like really messy, really long. We want to clean these up. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to define and select option in the home ribbon up here and click on replace. I'm going to just type in a semicolon and then I'm going to replace it with nothing. So just leave that second line blank and then just click replace all and see it's going to get rid of all the semicolons. I want to try to get rid of as much punctuation as possible. So let me type in a colon, replace all. So I guess there's no colons in this. And I'm just going to kind of sweep through this and see if there's anything else. There is this little dash, or whatever these things are called. Hyphens? No, they're not hyphens. What are these called? Backslash. So you see a backslash here, and replace that. So just type in a backslash. And maybe let's replace that with a space. So just type in a space in the replace line and click replace all. Let's see what else we got to clean up. So some areas you have these little dashes there, so let's just get rid of those. So I'm just going to replace the, so what you see here is actually a space, space, dash, space. And I'm just going to replace that with an underscore. Because you guys know underscores are friendly and they're nice. And these other scores are not friendly and nice. And then let's just do a few other things. And again, you don't have to do this, but this is just to make it like much easier to work with. So let's say margin of error here. Let's just replace that with margin of error. Replace that with MOE just to make it much shorter. Replace all. Maybe replace words like population, which are really long, with just pop. Maybe replace words like estimate with EST. Employment. See, I'm just making these titles a lot more friendly and not as long. So let's see, this is getting a little bit better. Whatever, you can go as far as you want with that, and then we're just going to auto fit this to see how good we did. That's better. I like that. Okay. Wow, that's a lot of data. Okay, so then what you do is you save it, click on save, and just say some blah blah blah. Do you want to keep using this format? Of course you do. Click yes. And then just get out of this. So click on X. Yeah, just save it. Just click on save, I guess. Yeah. Okay, so now that's done. If you set up your CSV successfully, now we go back into GIS. So let's add that CSV file. So in here, I saved it in the ACS folder, ACS employment. And you're going to want to do the one ... with an, because that's with annotation. Let's add that. And if you open it, and I have my, what just happened? All right, sorry for the delay. So now that I've added it into the CSV file into this data set here, now I can use your joins and relates. So we've done this 10 times by now, so you guys should know this by memory. So, well, first we got to do is we got to check and see which line in here we're going to match with the county line. So this is the shapefile right here. And I believe it's this GeoID line right here. One thing to note about this GeoID, if you right click on it and go to properties, it's actually a string, which means it's just words, it's text. It doesn't actually recognize this as numbers unless you copy this into a numerical field. So basically, you need to connect this or join this to a field in the CSV file that's also a string. So in here, I believe this ID2 is a integer, but I believe there is a string somewhere, I think. Let me see. I guess not. So since this is a number right here, a long integer right here, I'm just going to go back in here and I'm going to make a new field. I already did it, but I'll do it again. So add a new field called add field, and I'll call this GeoID and maybe long for long integer. And I'll select as a long integer. So this is a number. Click OK. Then all you need to do is just right click here and go to the field calculator and set GeoID long to be equal to the GeoID. And this will be a number, as you can see in the type up here. So now this is it'll just basically copy all that into here, and now it's a number. So this, I believe, should join with this here. So all you do is go to joins and relates, right click on the shapefile, join, choose the field GeoID long that we just made. It's going to connect to this table here, and then ID2. And then I'm going to click keep only matching records. That way it just deletes lines in the CSV file that don't actually join to anything in here. What you might see as a result is some counties missing, but that's okay. So let's see what we got here. And it runs kind of. Okay, so it's spotty because the CSV file was not complete. It didn't actually get the data for every single county, and you kind of notice actually skip the counties that are like in the middle of nowhere, because who cares about those areas? Definitely not our presidential candidates, because they're not campaigning in these areas. Oh yeah, look, I made a political statement in school. Okay, so then what you can do is you can just visualize this as is. So let's say you want to visualize, let's see what's an interesting, oh man, it's a lot of information. Maybe unemployment rate. Oh wow, this is so specific. Estimate for 26, it's too specific for me. Unemployment rate for white alone. Jeez. Oh wow. Unemployment. Wow, this is really, really specific. Hey, it's specific, so it's good, I guess. Okay, so I just picked a random field. This is like the unemployment rate for people 16 years and over. It's a this isn't. Let me just warn you guys. This isn't actually a very good map, because it's such a specific piece of information, and it's kind of like visualizing across a broad scale. Like from this map, you might think, oh God, all the kids in San Francisco or Phoenix or Arizona or wherever that are like they have no jobs. No, that doesn't mean anything. It's just this one very specific piece of information. There's probably like I'm pretty sure everyone here is fine. I'm pretty sure everyone here has jobs. But there you go. In a nutshell, that's how you bring census information into GIS.